Welcome to Design Diary, the podcast where you get to look inside my board game design notebook as well as what's going on inside my head. We look at a new word each day from the sense of mechanics, tone, theme, or inspiration for a full game. Today's word is Mutatis mutandis. I don't know if Mutatis mutandis. It's such a wild word to start with, and it's even its definition. The definition of this word, or words, Mutatis mutandis, is with the necessary changes having been made. So the whole concept of this podcast and this word of the day project that I do in my notebook every day is to write down the word that I get off this app and try to come up with something gaming around that word. So it could be a gaming mechanic. It could be a theme or a concept or a tone for a game. It could be a setting. And then occasionally it ends up being an entire game. Maybe not playable, but a full pitch for a game. If I really get writing about it and things really take off. At once, I did this for, and it turned into the game 7 Sevens. So, and that was published by Eagle Gryphon, and everything went well. So it's possible that this little exercise in taking a word and translating it into gaming can end up with something bigger and better. So that's the goal. But today I'm going to look at this word, or words, Mutatis mutandis. I'm definitely butchering that, or just making the necessary changes. Oh man, here we go.
Mutatis mutandis.
Mutatis mutandis. There we go. So now we know. Mutatis mutandis. So thinking about this from a gaming sense, I wrote down and I'm just reading my notebook at this point, and this is what I'm going to do every day, is just read my notebook, maybe riff a little bit about things that could have had a little bit more detail, or if anything comes to me, but we're just basically, it's just not full improv. I'm definitely reading right off of my notebook. So making necessary alterations while not affecting the main point at issue. And then I also wrote things being changed that have to be changed, which was a Latin, like a direct translation of this. Things being changed that have to be changed. Now, there's not a lot to go off of there to make a game off of, but I thought of it. I wrote down since it's a term that's used in a legal sense, it makes me think of a judge, and by that I don't mean a judge as in like Apples to Apples or Cards Against Humanity, where one player is a judge and everyone else does something, but in a similar way, I was thinking of a judge in a courtroom, and not from a theme sense, but just the way that a judge from a courtroom is determining, the course of or they're kind of setting the stage, and that's not even the right word either. But what I want here is the judge is calling the shots. That's probably more like it. So one player's a judge, and when it's their turn, and it's not going to be like one player's a judge for the whole game. It's we're going to take turns and one player's a judge. But while it's a person's turn, they play as a judge. All the other players are making moves on a board. So let's just say it's like a map, and each player's manipulating the map in some way. A good example might be it's a map and they're terraforming or building cities or whatever it is. But each player's adjusting this map in some way on their turn, and maybe even it's in player order, or it's real time, or the judge is determining the order. So they might point to a person and it's their turn, they point to another person and they go. They'll just keep going until really when this judge roll actually kicks in and the judge calls stop. I was going to say the judge calls Mutatis mutandis, but that's not going to happen. So the judge has to call stop. Their role is to start the turn and end the turn. And with the players, maybe they're given a specific, tool or whatever they can do to change the map up. I drew like Tetris style pieces here. So they're like movements or changing the state of the board or whatever with these little Tetris style pieces. So just to paint a picture, if that gives you any kind of idea, one player sitting there hovering over board watching while other players using these little Tetris pieces to change the state of that board. And I still think of it as very abstract. I don't know if it's pattern forming or whatever it is, but that's just the image that I had was this ever-changing board state in a very abstract way. So eventually the board state is in a position where the judge likes it, or it's in a position where the judge doesn't want it to get any worse. So they can see it going down a bad track and they don't want to get worse. So they yell stop. And it doesn't have to be a yell, especially if it's turn-based. They just say stop, But at this point, the judge is going to hopefully score some points. They're going to gain something out of this. And then all the other players should gain either money or a resource or something based off of, what they did or what they have left, what they used, or the current board state as well. And hopefully whatever the players gain can be used when they become judge to combine with, it could be a multiplier or something like that, just to combine with their points that they gain when they get to play the judge. So when you are the active judge, you're going to gain one item. When you are an non-active other player, you're going to gain something different. And I assume that everyone's going to want to, skew the board state in a certain way that's helpful to them, but also while slowly iterating so that they get more, so the judge doesn't call a quick stop. I don't know. I have no idea. I just pictured these slow iterations and somebody watching over the whole thing, and maybe you can sneak something in, and maybe you can slowly skew it a certain way, and eventually the judge is going to catch on, and maybe if there's enough players, and I picture there has to be a good number of players for this to make any sense. Maybe like, 4 players, 3 to 5 or something, where there's enough going on that board that the judge is kind of looking around, and eventually they're going to call stop. And that board has changed either for the better or for the worse, and everybody gains what they gain. And we've accomplished the Mutatis Mutandis. The necessary changes have been made by the judge's choice, by their determination. And then the end of my notes say play rotates to the left, which is so useless. But it's true. It's just then the next player would become judge, and then it would continue. And there probably have to be a whole bunch of things that happen in between that to make this an actual game. But if I can take anything out of this, it would be a game where one player is actively starting and ending the round and deciding when it ends, and all other players are trying to sort of please that person while sort of please themselves, or maybe even just go wild and don't please them at all and get what you can. But a concept where one player's starting it, everybody does their little things, that player watches over and eventually calls stop. And that's where my page ends. It's as simple as that. It's a single page. I didn't write a ton about this. Sometimes I write 5 pages and go wild and can't stop. But Mutatis Mutandis is it's a tough one. But I think I got something out of it. And I'm going to, I don't know if I'll do it on here every episode or however, but I encourage other people to try the same thing, because it's a great exercise in creating games. It's just having a word thrown at you. If you like to design with restriction, which I love, if you can get a word thrown at you like this and see if you can get anything out of it, see if you can, especially out of Mutatis Mutandis, if you can get anything out of that, I applaud you. But this is the whole podcast. So every day I'm going to come up with one of these. I'm going to read you what I have. I am not the definitive person at having a design diary. I think there's a lot of more interesting design diaries, but I write mine every day, and I'm going to share it, and hopefully you enjoy it, and we'll go from there. So thanks for listening to this first episode of Design Diary, and expect many more to come. All right, thanks.